Time now for Coming In Hot with Brent Wallace and former Ottawa Senator Jason York.
Happy Wednesday, everybody. This is not a show you want to just listen to. We're joined by Joe Dirt.
Joe Dirte.
Oh, no. This is actually my original hair from the 86 draft. If I was to bring it back, I asked him, just take a little off on the side, keep it long on the back. So this is Sean Simpson's circa in 1986.
Little Andre Agassi.
What's that?
Andre Agassi as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Hey?
I was going to say,
the key to this is transitioning slowly. I didn't want it to be all blonde right away, kind of like David Poyle. You just want to go slow. You show up that day. I don't know how they do that at work. Like you show up with the rug all of a sudden, you go vacation first or one day and then vacation after. You just got to be a slow transition. So nobody knows you go from completely bald to a beautiful flow like this. I actually went over to Turkey. It was Turkey where I got this for $400. Hey? It's all back hair. It's all back hair that they put on my head.
That is a great question. When is the proper time to introduce a rug, or if you get plugs, is it slow? Is it a slow, or you just shock right away? Just show up full. You're bald the one day, just like this, full head of hair the next.
Yeah, I think on the plugs now, everybody's going over to Turkey and over to different places, Lebanon. You get that kind of done. And apparently the whole plane ride back is Canadian men wrapped in basically Band-Aids coming back. I think that one there, Yorkie's not bad. The rug one's a tough one. All of a sudden you go from nothing. You just got to be careful on that. It's probably where you move to a new town, right? You probably start a new life and a new identity.
Exactly. Okay. Anyway, Rick Dudley sends his best. He gave it a big thumbs up.
I was looking for the beehive look.
Yeah, no, it's very good. Yorkie, I don't know what you're doing.
I just realized my computer was almost out of juice, so I said I better plug this baby in before my screen goes dark.
Well, hey, you working 3 days in a row. This is a big thing. So we're excited that you were able to make it on.
We're grinding. We're grinding here.
I do have a bit of a trade to announce today. Don't get excited. My kid was traded from Renfrew to CP this morning.
CP's got his rights.
Whoa. Yeah. So he's. Let me just set this up because this is how my morning has started. I had to walk the dog twice already today, and my wife is away. So I consider this babysitting, but apparently you can't babysit your own kids. So he's working at a construction job this summer. So he calls me not long after he was there. And I'm like, oh my God, he's done something. He's lopped his hand off in a saw. He's done something. Something has happened. He goes, I just got traded. I was like, wow, that's a pretty big deal. So yeah, the first time he's ever been traded. So we're thankful to the CP Canadians. We look for, that's a great organization. Lots of history in that one. So we'll see.
They run a great program. Brent, does an awesome job. Good junior B team as well that practices all the time. They got a good setup too. They just remodeled the CP rink a little bit. They fixed up the dressing rooms. So yeah, Brent does an outstanding job. There's a bunch of teams that do a good job in that league. It's still a really good league. Kempville is.
We were talking before we came on air about the structure of sports, and that's one I still have a hard time, Wally, getting my head around on. My son grew up and played prep school in the United States, went to school on a football scholarship instead of hockey. I still find it hard to fathom that kids are getting traded in Central Junior, but hey, this is the reality of the world we live in, and at least you're not getting traded out to the BC League. So I guess that's a good thing, and so good for him, and hopefully that's helps him out in the future.
How did he find out before you, Wally? What's going on? He scooped you. How'd that happen?
Well, because Brent called him.
See, there you go. Calls him right away.
Called him. He said, "Hey, I required your traded for you last night." It's like, wow.
Yeah.
So gave up a D man to get him. So yeah, we'll see how this goes. But he's going to school in New Brunswick this fall. He's committed to Ross A. Netherwood. He wants to be a lawyer. So
awesome.
A little education is a big deal. Yeah.
Good for him.
All right. Moving on. Speaking of, we'll get to maybe more trades coming up later in the show as we head towards the draft, and everybody seems to think, including you, Simmer. By the way, Simmer, you are wound up this morning. I don't know how many coffees you've had, but you've taken to Twitter.
Yeah.
Do you think
simmer on Twitter? Come on, no.
Yeah, exactly. I like to wake up early, and I find draft week, I guess, haven't been around it, and just overall from a hockey perspective, it falls off a cliff next week, Wally. But right now, yeah, you get pumped up. It's a little hump day, a little Wednesday. Lots of chatter going on right now, so I find it good energy.
So do you expect, and you said you think that Staios will be busy. Someone in the chat earlier had already said, what's the over-under perhaps at 2 trades before the draft? Where do you think Steve is? Got some work to do, obviously.
Oh, no, I was even just talking, Wally, having had an experience, Yorkie, as well, of not wasting your time. I mean, there are tons of teams out there, and I can't even think of, forever we talked to Dallas about Mike Modano. Forever we talked about Marleau and Stewart. You go down all these different trades, and then you realize by the third year this isn't going to happen. This is real nice that they got Ullmark out of the way. And I know you have other staff, but when you're a young general manager, any general manager, Yorkie, you don't want to waste your time and also your thought process on all of a sudden something falls apart. So you got the goaltender here. Now, to me, and again, other things can come up, but at the end of the day, this gives you an opportunity to really focus on Chychrun and see what's going on with him between now and the draft. Now, there can be other things that happen, guys, but that would look to me from an asset management standpoint that you're not worrying about a bunch of other things. So what is the Chychrun market? And I expect that as to when, Wally, I have no idea. Only that, hey, realistically, it's going to happen between probably now and Saturday.
I really like what teams are doing now when they get ahead of the trade deadline and you see smart GMs make those moves before. And I kind of look at this the same way. Ottawa's got so much to do. And you're right. You've got to figure out Chychrun. You've got to get that right shot D. We know they want to bring in some veteran forwards with some experience. That's a pretty big shopping list and things to do. So get the most important thing right out, or one of the most important thing. I love the fact they got ahead of it, because that draft floor can get hairy. There's all kinds of stuff going on. They've got picks this year. So no, I think it's brilliant doing that. And it's that's what smart GMs are doing now. Get out in front of it, get your work done. And one more little check mark in the column for the Ottawa Senators. Still a few more to go, but I'll tell you, judging from what I've seen, guys, people are really, really happy with the first move, with the Ullmark move.
Well, how can you not be? I don't even, like, we've had this discussion. I guess I don't want to get into it again, but how can you not be happy with what all has transpired? You said you didn't want to see this goaltending tandem next year. Well, they've made that decision and they made that move. Like, I'm just okay. So he doesn't have an extension. I'm okay with it.
Yep, me too. Me too.
Yeah, no. And again, as far as overall, Wally, I don't disagree with that. And even something as simple, Yorkie, yesterday of Ullmark coming out and putting out a little video, like that's different than even the feel of the DeBrincat situation, where all of a sudden you get radio silence. Hey, the guy's not being, this was speculated. This was talked about. He talked to Alfie. He's kind of agreed to it. Yeah, this is a completely different animal. A player is coming here no matter what happens. I'd like to get him extended, but he is excited. He is happy. So you didn't have that. And just from the Chychrun standpoint, yeah, for sure. Look around the league, see what's out there, do your due diligence. And on the free agency, and I also said this as it relates to Tanev, in Newport Sports, we get a little more into that, Yorkie. And again, I know you were represented by them back in the day, but you don't know, nothing is for sure in free agency unless you trade for the player before and sign him. So everything else that Steve Staios is going to end up doing between now and the draft is going to have to be for warm NHL bodies that are under contract. Anything after that, unless you've got some seriously good tampering going on, you can't count on anything in free agency.
Could you imagine getting the cat cam on fresh after he was traded to Ottawa? Thoughts on being traded to? I don't know. I didn't really ask for this. I'm not going to be signing here, and
I will.
I will say even Kubalik's reaction, guys. And again, that's a part for trades. I think of one of the famous trades I was part of Wally, was we ended up trading for Adam Oates, Rick Tocchet, and Bill Ranford. We sent out Jim Carey, Anson Carter, and Jason Allison. I was so pumped. I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever. First phone call we get is from Adam Oates' agent saying he's not going to report unless he gets a contract extension. You got to be ready for a good kick in the balls, because you have you think the players are pumped to come see you. Then you've got to not only do that, Yorkie, but you also have to go on camera and pretend. And Brian Murray was the master of this. He loves Ottawa. He's so excited. He turned down more money in other places. You got to get on the camera and have the ability to lie about how excited the player is.
That's pretty good. Okay, I will say, Alex DeBrincat came on our show in that summer in July. He was very good. He didn't commit, obviously, to coming here and all that, but he was very good. And I don't think that, like, he wasn't, as they don't do a very good job of selling the players in this market. They don't market them very well. You never hear from them. Like, all season long, you rarely heard from very many of these players. And I think it's something they've got to do. Olmark, meeting with the media today. I think it's at 12:30 p.m. ish. So we'll see what he has to say. I need to get back to Simmer's new look, I'll call it. Smitty Designs said you basically were Joe Exotic. People are wondering what's on your head, and what did you kill?
I got to be honest. I did look in the mirror, and that's where I had to look away. And unfortunately, I can see on the camera, but I did see a little bit of Joe Exotic, and that's not really. And I'm not dating any meth addicts or killing any tigers, so I have to kind of get away from that. But I did see a bit of that with the gross. So yeah, that's a bit disturbing even for myself.
We got to get a poll here, but I'm going to go off the board for the old George Michael Faith video. Get the shades on there. George Michael.
See, that's one that's positive. Like, that's like when you make this transition, Yorkie, to a full head of hair, you need your spouse to lie to you. Like, there's no guy that has a rug leaving the house that hasn't had his spouse lie to him that says it looks good, right? Like, you need.
How do I look, honey? Well, besides that squirrel on the top of your head, you look pretty good.
Just shift it a little bit to the left, you'll be fine, right?
We should probably have to put up names, because I see Yorkie and Wally. Who's the third guy? There is now a Twitter. There's a poll in the chat. Who is Simmer pretending to be? Joe Exotic, Joe Dirt, or George Michaels?
Yeah, the George Michael, to be honest with you, if he went that way, that would make me feel better about myself. Joe Dirt, I kind of feel there is some reality there, but Joe Exotic, that's very disturbing. Then I'll have to come after. Speaking of cats, I'll have to get after the cat lady. For anybody that's watched that fine documentary,
it's fantastic. It is.
Joe Dirt, very underrated comedy, by the way. Some good scenes in that movie.
Yeah,
and. Let's be honest, she's beautiful. Brittany Daniels, or whatever her name was.
Yeah. You got a little fancy for her, Wally?
She's a great actress.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's I got some players to talk about.
Yes.
Recently, and so we're going to get to the local boy first. Calvin DeHaan has been. He's a free agent. He wants to come back and play in his hometown. He's a former first-round pick, 12th overall by the Islanders. Played 632 games. He's a left shot D. All right, so if there's anything going against him, it would be that. But I think he'd be a really good 7th D guy.
And also brews a great beer, Ridge Rock Brewery out there.
Oh yeah,
Harp Wally, good little.
He's got his own this year. He's got a number 44 beer.
So they have some good fresh. Actually, there's no beer allowed in the dressing room anymore these days. Just protein shakes. But he's. I really liked Calvin as a player. Great guy, good citizen. He would be, for a lot of teams, a really good, solid, complementary defenseman that you're not going to worry about when you put in and enter your lineup, and he's going to be a local guy. I like him a lot. Is he exactly what Ottawa needs? Probably not. I'm probably looking for a big meat and potatoes guy, like a big guy that is,
yes. I want a Neanderthal.
Yeah, because they're just if Ottawa already had some guys in their mix that are that type of player, like a guy that kind of plays the game like Zadorov. And I actually think Zadorov's going to get overpaid, because I think he played in the playoffs a lot better than, and I don't want to, because he played exceptionally well, Simmer, but he's not this, he makes a lot of mental errors out there, Zadorov. Like he can frustrate your fan base, but he was really good in the playoffs, which is the total opposite of Calvin DeHaan. Calvin DeHaan is a thinking man's defenseman. He's going to make smart plays, low risk plays. He's going to move the puck. But like for sure, if you get rid of Brandstrom, you get rid of Hamonic. He moves better than Hamonic right now. He makes a better first pass. So I think it's an upgrade there. But in a perfect world, Simmer, I'm probably looking for a big guy that
Yeah.
plays simple and
Tyler Clevin.
Yeah.
but that's my young guy coming in. I'm talking about if I'm going to get a veteran, but I like Calvin a lot as a player. I think he's a great human being.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And you look to the captain in New York, you look to anybody that plays a physical game, fan base is going to get on you. It's not pretty watching Zadorov play. And I think he's going to market overrated. From a sense perspective, here's Dahan. Dahan is basically Luke Richardson 2.0. Is he ready to transition into that seventh role? And then the other one, and it's so key, and this has happened a lot here in Ottawa, I really don't need Calvin Dahan to come in and play ahead of Clevin. And if I have a coaching staff, unfortunately, that's trying to win hockey games to start the year, who do they generally go with? They'll go with veteran players. So bit of a fine line on what's his role, what's he expecting. And if I slide Clevin in, guys, I basically, and people keep asking why Chychrun. Well, Chychrun doesn't feel like a fit here. It's contractual. I think Chabot at $10 million is your guy. So you basically have Sanderson and Zub. You got you've got Chabot, and then you've got Clevin. I got the other two spots open. To me, that's the Ottawa Senators defense going forward, Yorkie, and how you fill the rest of it. That is the big question marks. Who can complement Clevin? And more importantly, who can complement Thomas Chabot? That's what it's really all about at the end of the day. And I don't want to go back to the shutdown D that Ottawa used to have with Jared Cowan and Greiba. And I was like, yeah, they're shutting her down all right. They're in their own zone the whole time. So I think Clevin needs a nice little bit of a combination, a little bit of a puck mover. But that's the key to, I think, rounding out Ottawa's defense.
If you watch, so the game's changed now, and I always bring this name up all the time. My old defense partner, Robert Dirk. There's a blast from the past right there, Simmer.
I always think of Vancouver Canucks.
You used to be able in the NHL as your 5'6", guy was 6'5", huge, fought, cross-checked everybody, but wanted nothing to do with the puck. I've told this story before. If I got the puck and I looked to go D to Durkee, he'd be waving me off. No, not open. He goes, Durkee, you get all the pucks. You go corner to corner. I'm going to stay in front of that and take care of business. And that worked great. But in today's NHL, you watch how teams break out. It's D to wing to far D, which that weak side D has to be part of the breakout because everybody overloads on the forecheck. So you need big guys, but you need big guys and get up in the ice. One name that's out there, and he's not that physical for a big guy. I don't mind Tyler Myers. He had a pretty good playoff, and he can skate for a big guy. I've heard that name floated out there. You've got the history there. I believe Green was there in Vancouver when he was there, and Nolan Baumgartner. That's a big man that can get up the ice, that can skate, and he's long. He'd look pretty good in that. He'd look pretty good in that third pairing. You imagine him with Clevin. You got 6'4", you got 6'7". Not overly physical, but I like the fact he's big and he can skate. So I'm with you, Simmer. I think those spots, Chabot. You got Sanderson, you got Zub, I just think there's too much of the same thing. We've talked about this so much already, Wally. I think you're going to see two different types of defensemen come in and fill those roles.
Yeah, and also, it's funny as you go through Hamonic and JBD guys, I don't feel like either of them are full-time NHL players. And when you talk about mix, I think you have to separate that, where I will say, I don't think Eric Brandstrom, if worst case, you had to bring him back as the right D-man to complement Clevin, I'd like better. And as far as Myers, I think it's great. I hope in a Canadian market people look past, because he got booed out of Buffalo because of the crazy contract. He's not physical, but at this point, he played for Nolan. He played 3 years for Green, and that's kind of where he circled back to Tanev and understanding. People say, well, why is he going to come to Ottawa? Okay. Played for Travis Green for 3 years, set him up for free agency. He's represented by Wade Arnott, who's Newport Sports. Steve Staios was represented by Pat Morrison, Newport Sports. You know right now, if you're the Ottawa Senators, Wally, whether you have a hope in hell with either of the Tanev boys, but more importantly, the unrestricted free agent. So that's a big part of going into the draft, of not being the Buffalo Sabres back in the day where all of a sudden you're the bridesmaid on every free agent, right? You drive up the price and you get the call, oh man, we love your offer. Even Mike Babcock. Hey, that's what you don't want to be if you're Ottawa. But there's reasons to point to, Wally, that they do have a chance with a Myers, with a Tanev, and they'd have a real good idea whether or not they're just chasing their tail or not.
Here's a quick note on Tyler Myers. Yeah, he's 5 games from 1,000. You don't want to be the team he joins, because then you got to shell out a whole lot of cash for the 1,000 game bonus that you got to pay. Remember Sergei Gonchar, or was it David Legwan showed up? And,
Yeah.
They had to buy him boats and Rolexes, and they're like, damn, the guy just got here.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
One year in Washington, we had Phil Housley, Brian Bellows, speaking of hair extensions or hair augmentations, along with Dale Hunter, all had their thousands game. And the other part to this, guys, it's so weird for the player. Like, it means nothing, right? Like, you want to reach your 1,000 game, almost like like Claude Giroux. Get me to my 1,000 game and then trade me. Don't transition to some other place that doesn't even care about it. Along with Wall, you got to pay. Who pays for the silver stick? Silver.
Yeah.
Have you checked on the stock market the price of silver these days?
Silver's through the roof. It's through the roof right now.
It's actually now it's tin.
But
I put all my assets into copper. That was
oh boy, copper's coming back. It's being devalued right now. It's coming back. It's coming back strong in 2025. That in a perfect world, Simmer, for Ottawa, that's ideally exactly what they need. Tanev as your right shot. Like, how good of a fit would he be on this blue line right now? And you get the brother with the crazy eyes coming in on your third and fourth line, just running around like the Tasmanian devil. That's in a perfect world. You get the brothers coming, and that, boy, oh boy, after the goalie, you get your D, you get your depth, you get your depth forward. Man, that would be an ideal shopping trip at this draft. Boy, oh boy.
Yeah, be a major coup for Staios to pull something like that off, kind of Brian Burke-esque. Not easy to do that on Tanev, and at the same time, people have asked me, do you want the forward without the defenseman? He would help Ottawa, but my thought would be certainly more along the uniting the Niedermeyer brothers in Anaheim, or even the Sedin twins would be absolutely ideal for Ottawa.
That fourth line center spot is an interesting opening for me now, right? Is it going to be Zach Ostapchuk, who I just put there because he's a center and he played 2 games, whatever it was this past year? But that seems to me like a veteran 800 game guy. You know what would have been is who did they bring in from the Islanders? Josh Bailey.
Yeah.
Right? He had a good camp. I thought he looked good. I would have put him in that spot.
He did, but he's like a second power play guy and skill guy, great passer. What about our boy Rourke Chartier? Where's Rourke Chartier at these days? Where's he hanging out?
He was in London the same time I was.
Was he?
But
you guys go for a coffee? You and Rourke?
No, I did send him a text, but I just anyway.
Did he ghost you? Did he ghost you, or did he get back to you?
No. I just wasn't gonna bug him. There's a lot of people.
I got to say on Sharts, when you watch him, you got to be honest with you. He's not bad. I wish he was a bit heavier of a player.
Yeah,
but he tracks the play very well. I didn't have a problem with him, and it's more philosophically. What do you want? Are you comfortable with the size that they have down the middle? If you're Ottawa, if you go Stützle to Pinto to Greg, or what Norris ends up switching in, and Ostapchuk, that's just a question of whether or not you feel he's ready. There's no doubt. At some point, he would be perfect for that role. But I really didn't have a problem with Chartier. I think you get lumped in at times, Yorkie, with the rest of the, kind of tweener players that are out there. But I thought he was pretty effective in that role.
Jacques, you could always tell by how the coach utilizes you. And Jacques trusted him in a lot of big situations just because he does the right thing.
He really does.
You're at the blue line. You see numbers. You chip it in. You got support. You carry it in. And he was a good face-off guy. He's like a good up and down utility guy, and he did exactly what they wanted. So we started off, it was kind of a running joke on the show, but the more I watched him, I'm like, this guy's he's pretty dependable. So
yeah, and you have to separate from the rest of the group. I hate when guys come up that are neither prospects or long-term players or can even fill a role, right? You're kind of like, you're just wasting time. And also from a sense perspective, guys, Wally, finding a couple of bargains at $700,000. If you re-sign Pinto and you want to do some things in free agency here, you got to be realistic about how you're doing this. And that veteran that wants $1 million too, unfortunately, might be a little bit over budget. So a few guys on the fourth line at 700 would certainly go a long ways.
Mm-hmm. Completely agree. You need, and they've talked about it, and we've talked about it, some veteran presence there somehow.
Yeah, I think it's so.
Whether that's a winger or whatnot, there has to be some move made. Like, there will be some minor league deals made this week. I think Igor Sokolov will get moved. I think they're both sides perhaps are looking for a change of scenery with that one. So, do they package him in? If he's in a deal, I wouldn't be shocked. That's all. I thought he might go to Boston. I thought with that size, the Boston might want him.
You think after this,
Yeah, he'd be a
summer,
great player for Providence. So, if you're really looking to help out your minor league team, and that is, to be honest with you guys, the dream trade, and I don't know where Kaliev fits in because he's tied to this group, and being realistic, he's touch and go with his skating far better than the Sokolov. But all Sokolov is at this point, Yorkie, is quite simply a minor league hockey player. That's why a team is going to trade for him. I don't see any NHL upside.
I watch Kaliev a lot in junior because he's around my older boy Jack's age.
Yeah,
he can really score. He can score. Yeah. He's got good mitts. It's just he's in a situation in LA where you've got other guys ahead of him. So he's interesting. The boots are questionable. The boots are questionable, like you said, for sure. I haven't watched him skate in a while, but he's definitely got a nose for the net.
Okay,
and he can score inside. So I'm interested to see where that goes because I've heard it. You know how it is, right? You always kind of defer to what you know. It's a lot easier to make those kind of moves. So that name's been out there, but definitely a guy that can shoot the puck.
Okay, let's move on to another player that generates lots of chatter. I just don't know if it's warranted. Trevor Zegras.
Oh, stop it.
I didn't say, just so we're clear, I didn't say we're going to trade for him and bring him in, do anything.
Okay.
I just said his name gets out there and then suddenly it gets thrown around.
Yeah.
And I don't see the fit for any reason whatsoever.
Unless this guy has had a total reset and how he goes about playing in the style of what's needed in today's NHL, I wouldn't touch this guy with a 10-foot pole. And it's nothing to do with his skill set because it's off the friggin' charts. This guy is uber skilled, but anyone who's watching the playoffs right now doesn't want guys that are trying to do Michigan moves and toe drags. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. There's a time and place for that, but it's just he needs to change how he plays the game and play a much. Well, why do you think Anaheim wants to get rid of him?
Mm-hmm.
It's like so. But then again, it can happen. You get in the right situation and you get some hard truths. You get some people speaking hard truths to you, and you say, "Listen, this is how it has to be." Hey, maybe there's some inside intel, but from what I've seen so far, needs a total reset how he plays the game.
23-year-old Trevor Zegras. Here's what I think would have happened, though. If this was a year ago, this is a much different conversation with this team.
Oh,
based on what, Wally?
Yeah, they probably would have traded for him with the previous regime.
Oh, okay, yeah. No, that's a good point. Here's a few things on Zegras. He'll change, he'll evolve, but he'll never get bigger. And I know what he's listed at, guys. He's a light player, and that's the other thing I'll say. Now, you could use a couple of things. Marner's a hell of a hockey player. I'll use Panarin with the New York Rangers. This guy's ultra skilled. At some point, the maturity will click in. He'll become a better player, but I still don't think he fits that great in today's National Hockey League. And then the other part that's amazing, guys, this is also, if it was still the original regime that drafted him in Anaheim, you would look past all the deficiencies in his game and love him, sell him the sport, the skill, the razzle-dazzle. And you'd also say that about Drysdale. But quickly, Pat Verbeek came in, the little ball of hate, and right away looked at these guys. We don't have any chance. And in the case of Drysdale, you get a stud prospect. And I don't mind Drysdale, but they're still touch and go as to how effective he's going to be in the playoffs. In the case of Zegras, they've looked at it. Unfortunately, I don't think, Wally, they put themselves in a power position. He's coming off of a bad year. I think they've actually devalued the asset versus, again, you joke, but where he was maybe a couple of years ago, a year ago. But they have clearly come in with a different mandate of, this ain't going to work. The question is now, who's going to bite, and what are you going to be bringing back if you're Anaheim? That situation in Philadelphia ended up being just absolute ideal. Those are kind of the dream deals that kind of fall on your lap as far as the circumstance with a Philadelphia pick and Drysdale for that matter.
It's crazy. It's crazy how the league pivoted in the direction it was going. And they've done it through their officiating, where the league was going totally, we're going to be no touch hockey, where there's basically hittings taken out of the game. It's going to be a power play bonanza. We're going to have all these guys, and they're going to be on their Instagram accounts, and they're going to be showing the fancy moves. And hockey now is all, because that's the way it was going. And that's why Toronto built their team that way. Then they tried to get ahead of it and say, we're going to have all these ultra skilled guys and we're going to win everything. The NHL said, hold on a second. We're going to go back to old school hockey where you got to battle for every inch of space on the ice, like we're seeing in the playoffs right now. And all of a sudden, those guys that play on the perimeter are useless. You can't win. You can't win with guys like that. It just doesn't work.
No, and that fine line, and this is the part in a 32-team league, you can argue with the Toronto Maple Leafs. You also need that to get to the playoffs. I mean, Mitch Marner, I don't want to devalue the player. He's a hell of a hockey player. Question is, can you win in the playoffs? But you also have to get to the playoffs in the National Hockey League. Then I agree with you. There's a bit of a rule change, but man, oh man, skill and scoring is still a premium in the regular season. But case of Zegras, not a fit for Ottawa in any way.
No.
I will just say Rob DeMaio just came from Anaheim.
Exactly.
If that plays any factor.
It means
whatsoever.
everything.
Oh.
And I mean, that right away there, guys, is exactly what you want, Yorkie. A couple of trades that the Ottawa Senators made back in the day that had great intel, that were huge trades. One was Rick Wamsley coming over for St. Louis, and they grabbed Ben Bishop, I believe, for a second-round pick. You're like, wow, what a move that was. And then the other one was Rob Murphy coming over from Phoenix and being able to explain the Kyle Turris situation, where a lot of people thought Kyle Turris was a bit of a baby. No, you had intel on here. Let's give him the next Erik Karlsson. Well, maybe not Erik Karlsson. And let's bring in Kyle Turris. Those were great moves for the Ottawa Senators. And a huge part of that was exactly to the DeMaio situation of, what do you think of a guy like Zegras?
Yeah. Do you guys remember, I played a lot against Rob DeMaio. And most guys tend to like what they were. DeMaio is one pound for pound, one of the toughest guys I played against. Like, not a big guy, but man, he played hard and he could fight. Like, he was, I don't know if you remember him, Simmer, really hard-nosed, tough, honest player. Man, I had a lot of respect for him as a player.
Well, my roommates at the under-18 camp, as we were in a youth hostel back in 1985 in Banff, Alberta, were Rob DeMaio, Everett Sanapass, and Theo Fleury. Rob DeMaio was an angry young man playing for Medicine Hat Tigers, one of the great junior teams of all time, because nobody respected. Theo got his chance because he was skilled enough. Rob had to find his way in a league, Yorkie, that was basically 6'4" monsters filling the role that Rob filled. And went on, as you said, to play. But he was angry. He was a bitter guy because everyone looked past him because of his size, and went on to have a great career for himself.
Spite is a very powerful motivator.
Oh, absolutely. And especially for those guys back then, I don't think it might be for goalies now, Wally, but for those players back then, Theo didn't even get drafted as draft here. And for Rob, I mean, you had to fight. I think of PJ Stock. You think of a lot of guys out there.
Stalker,
that are told at every turn that they're too small and they can't do it. Well, he and Stalker came and did it in a tough way.
And when you flip the script and you see so many guys that never face any adversity, a lot of stuff, and all of a sudden they get a little bit when they get to pro and they can't handle it. It's just it's two different sides to the story. You see that so many times with guys where you get into the Hockey Canada program, your first round pick, everything's going your way, and you get to the NHL. Oh crap! Now I gotta now I gotta battle a little bit, and they can't handle it.
Greatest story of all time, Marty St. Louis. I mean, how much more can you get kicked around and be a Hall of Fame hockey player? Great example for any kid.
I remember Marty St. Louis on a tryout when I was with the Ottawa Senators, skating at the KRC with us, and we're like, who is this? Who is this little guy motoring around the ice here? Nobody knew who he was. He worked so hard, and he had to battle for everything he got, and just goes to show you, guys like that, it just makes them stronger, better, and more resilient.
Quick question before I'm going to forget a couple things, so I want to get this before I lose it. Is from Kevin: would you bring back Pajot on a cheap deal if he gets bought out?
I love Pajot. Pajot tugs at the heartstrings for me a little bit, fellas. At a lower contract, absolutely. I love how this guy plays. He plays in big games. He plays hard. Does the little dirty things. You get him on a lower contract, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm always cautious about bringing players back, guys, and I'm also just cautious I didn't watch him enough. We just talked about the fourth line role. Here's a guy that loved being an Ottawa Senator, and I do care about growing the game in the Quebec side. But I'm only saying I'm not doing it because of it, but it sure doesn't hurt. And the other thing, he was proud to be an Ottawa Senator. They could still use lots of that. You put him in the fourth line role. As far as penalty killing, now he's transitioned into that veteran. And just what we talked about, a guy that made it the long way. Remember the 1 year in training camp? He should have made the team. They sent him down because they didn't have room because of waivers. What does he do? Yeah. He doesn't sulk. He goes down and plays his ass off out of the American Hockey League, and he's never looked back since. So absolutely, I would be interested in a lower end deal for a guy like that, and he'd be terrific in that fourth line spot.
Yeah. So those who don't know, he has 2 years left at $5 million a season. with a modified no trade clause. Do you think he would take a 775 deal after being bought out to play? I don't.
No, somebody else is going to pay him more than that. Like, he still has value in the league. He's a right shot center, and he's got a great resume. Yeah. He's not that old. So
do you have 1.5 million to give him? 2 million to give him?
I would at that price.
Well, the Sens right now have 11.5 ish. They still got to sign Pinto. They don't have a lot of money to start throwing around here.
Well, the transition rate there, guys, would be quite simply, do you see him in the 3 spot? I don't want to go too far. And also, is Ottawa home? You know, you can talk about a lot of different things. I don't think I shouldn't say Giroux. Giroux got 3 years, 18 million. But hey, all of a sudden, I don't see Norris in the 2 slot. I put Pinto in there right now. And Norris, to me, you can almost shift off onto the side of. It's a wild card. It's a bonus. It's a bonus card. Yeah. So could Pajot come in and fill in the 3 spot? How much fun would he be with Greg and somebody else on there? If that's the case, then we're talking about a different one. And you get into that kind of money, Yorkie, I wouldn't have a problem. I just want to be careful because I haven't watched him play much. But if you think he can be your 3rd line center, absolutely.
I thought in the playoffs he was really good.
Okay. There you go. That's when you really judge a player's true value. How they play when there's more. The worst mistake people make when evaluating players, and Simmer knows this, when you watch guys on teams and you have all your scouts there watching guys that have already been beat out of the playoffs. You're like, oh, he looks pretty good. Well, of course he does. There's no pressure. There's no pressure right now. Like it's the worst time to analyze, and the playoffs is when it's all about. And historically, Pajot has always been a big game player. And there's something to be said as well. When you get on a group with a team where there's young guys that are hungry to get to the next level, like a Tkachuk, like a Sanderson, that makes you, as an older guy, it gives you more energy when you come to the rink because these guys make you younger. So yeah, I like the player a lot, but why do you think he's getting bought out?
I don't. It was just in the chat.
Somebody's chatting that he's not getting bought out.
I don't think he gets bought out, but because that's a lot of money for, I think, Lou. Lou's not big into that. Just so we know, 82 games last year, 11 goals, 33 points, -8, played 15.55 and was 55% in faceoffs. Like I think and 6 shorthanded points, by the way. I think he's a $2 million player easily, and I don't think that Ottawa could afford that, even if he did get bought out. That's all.
Yeah. Well, it depends. They have to move some things around.
Speaking of which, you just brought up big game players. We didn't get to it yesterday, and I apologize. Derick Brassard announced his retirement after playing over 1,000 games and 10 teams, twice with the Ottawa Senators. I gave him number 19 because that's the number he thrived in with Ottawa, not the 61 he was when he came back. Yeah. Your guys' thoughts on the homegrown talent and the guy that just everybody seems to like.
Yeah, Simmer, same thing. Big. That was his nickname, Big Game Brass. Played his best when the games were bigger. Long career. Listen, anybody that has had that long of a career in the NHL is doing something right. Good pro, good person. Just a solid NHL player that had a great career and like big moments. So to me, that's his career in a nutshell. It's probably, I could see him working on hockey somewhere when he's done if he wants to. He's got some respect around the league, but great career, great person, and hope to see him around the Ottawa area for sure.
Yeah, I look at a career like that, and again, back to how talented he was. Watch him as a draft pick, and he was going to be a top player and went through the shoulder surgeries, had to adapt, become a different player, and realistically get out from underneath of being a high pick in Columbus. And it's really with the New York Rangers guys where he earned the name, and they had so many good runs in the playoffs. He became so popular, and also a cautionary tale of a guy that's from Ottawa who doesn't want to come back to Ottawa, who denies he's from Ottawa and was set up shop in New York, and it just broke his heart, to be quite honest with him. He got traded, and unfortunately the trade itself was a terrible trade from an Ottawa side, but the guy played 1,000 games. He was very good for Ottawa in that playoff run in 2017, and he just came full circle, Wally, of that young, high pick, everything given to you, that now I got to figure out a different role in the National Hockey League. I got to survive and now play 1,000 games. Yeah, just absolutely love it. Good veteran player and good hockey mind, and it looks like he's having a whole lot of fun with the Gatineau Olympique.
What was the entire trade? Who were all the pieces involved in that trade, Wally?
I thought
with Ottawa.
Yeah, the
It
Ottawa
was
one.
Zibanejad in a second-round pick for
That's what
Brassard.
it was.
That's what
But
it
it was
right?
also, and what was happening at the time was they waited until he got a $2.5 million signing bonus. So that was not only that they had to pay that, and I understand with Zibanejad. I'm also not going to go back. I wasn't the biggest Z-Bad fan, and I know you've joked about him as well. But at the same time, a change of scenery. Now, also when he went to New York, remember how hard AV was on him? Listen, you got to figure this out. So it wasn't like it was right away. But honestly, for where Brassard was at, didn't end up being a very good trade. And then throwing in that customary, as Ottawa does, like a bouquet of flowers, throwing that customary second-round pick.
It should be pointed out, Simmer, that the Sens did get a 7th-round pick.
Yeah, that's true. And which pisses off your scouts because you have to stay at the table even longer. Like what you're trying to do is get rid of those picks so you can end up leaving.
That's right.
See, we had some fun with this on Twitter the other day. We still have to do a show with the worst moves of all time. I still put the Stone trade.
Yeah,
I think Simmer and I were joking. We had the horses neck and neck at the finish line here. I still put the Stone trade worse because at the end of the day, there's gonna be nothing to see, and it's gonna probably be this summer where there's Brandstrom's probably gone. We already talked about Sokolov. Those were the two pieces coming back, but Vegas won a Stanley Cup, and a big part of that was thanks to that trade. Like it's crazy.
Maybe we could even lump in the loss of the Dadonov pick as part of the trade as well. But the Stone idea, he had a contract extension, and you even go back to, and they didn't make a ton of. Well, I shouldn't say that. Bergevin made a bunch of trades. The fact they got Suzuki in the Pacioretty deal. And when you looked at this and you think of they had 3 first-round picks that year, the one fella, not Patrick, the other fella that was a dud for Vegas, but they flipped out Suzuki, they flipped out Brandstrom. You're right, Brandstrom, the other part, guys, he's not going to get qualified. You're not going to qualify him if you're Ottawa at $2.2 million, my estimation. So I agree. Back to that trade was a terrible one. But then you go down the rabbit hole, and I even think I know it's not quite to that, Yorkie. When you look at all the assets for Jake Chychrun that also involved bringing in Zaitsev and the disaster he created, along with what you had to give to get him to Chicago, holy moly. Like I said, Wally, the amount of second-round picks that were either missed on or given away. I mean, they got the 2 second-round picks for Dzingel, and you turn it into Stepan and Murray. But anyways, let's go back to topics.
That's it. That's all I got. So you can just keep going.
Okay.
Let's take care of some business before I get further on and get in trouble.
Business.
This show proudly presented by Betway. Go to Betway. Bet your way with Betway. Betway.ca. Must be 19 plus. Please play responsibly. We should be talking about perhaps the Copa America event going on with Canada playing in the men's soccer, but we'll get to that tomorrow. By the way, there is a show tomorrow. In case you guys are trying to do something else with your lives.
What the hell? We're working every day here. And speaking of working hard, Wally, how about our good friends at Bonisher Excavating? You want to spruce up that house of yours, get some good curb appeal going? BI can help with all those needs, especially driveway paving. They're excellent at that. Aggregate and topsoil sales as well. They can take care of that. Plus, BI also does equipment rentals. You can give them a call for everything you need for your landscaping. 613-432-1120. Visit them at bonisherexcavating.com. BEI helping to shape the Ottawa Valley and slow down on those construction zones, please.
I believe these jerseys are being released this year. Wednesday morning for the upcoming season with Fanatics.
Oh.
It's the first year of their 10-year deal. I just got an email about it. So it's something to watch for today is the jerseys for next year will be released today.
Nice.
Yeah. So there's one, I don't know how to get into this without people it's a very hot button topic. And it's Brady Tkachuk and everything that's happened with the cup and how this is going to make him want to leave. And every time I want to pull my hair out. I don't, just because your brother won the cup doesn't mean you're leaving. I don't even want to address it for the most part, but I feel like if we just ignore people, like, why don't you talk about it? The Brady Tkachuk stuff to me bugs me. I don't think he's leaving. I don't think he wants to go anywhere. And I think he wants to win here. Now, let's make sure we understand that this is this is a business and everybody's in it for money for the most part. If he wants to leave at some point because he doesn't see a direction in the organization, I get that. But I don't think for a second Brady Tkachuk has any desire at the moment to want to leave this organization.
Listen, Simmer, they just traded for the guy that won the Vezina last year. So
Mhm.
this totally different situation versus Chicago. They're gonna be good. San Jose. Well, imagine being in Columbus right now. Okay, then you're gonna say, oh yeah, I want the hell out of here. But
Yeah.
this team is gonna try and win. And I'll tell you, if anything, what this has done for Brady Tkachuk, it's gonna motivate him. Do you know how much that must be killing him? Surely happy for his brother. Absolutely, they're a tight family. But to see it and he's not touching it, and it's going to make him have a more of a desire, if that's possible, to want to win. And the difference between Matthew Tkachuk and Brady Tkachuk, because everyone's saying, well, Matthew left. Matthew wasn't the captain of Calgary. He wasn't the guy that they said, hey, we're going to try and make this team all about you, which they probably should have, but they didn't. But this Ottawa is Brady's team. They brought in Claude Giroux to help him, but he's not a quitter. He's not the type of guy, at least in my opinion, is going to say, you know what, I want the hell out of here. No, he's going to say, you know what, I'm going to dig in. This is my team. I'm the captain. I'm going to be part of the solution here. The teams just went and got a Vezina caliber goaltender. There's probably going to be some more moves coming. I don't know why you wouldn't want to be a part of this. And it's a guy that's going to want the challenge. It's a big challenge. But hey, like they basically said, like, we're building this team around you. So I don't know why everybody thinks somebody wants to leave when you have
because everybody outside the market wants to create the noise.
It's
right?
stupid. It's
There's
stupid.
nobody that has some inside information with Brady
Simmer,
going, I want to leave if we don't win.
Could you imagine if you were the guy that you're the captain, people in Ottawa for the most part adore this guy. Yeah. Sometimes the Canadian market's tough. Sometimes the pressure and all that. But listen, he's not going anywhere. This is going to motivate him even more, in my humble opinion.
I love what you guys are saying. I got to say, I'm a little preoccupied. My hair system's a bit on the warm side, so I'm trying to figure out when I work out, do I take it off and put a baseball hat on, and then put it back on?
Keep the bandana. The bandana will help the sweat from going down into the brow. But you gotta get like a little big Adidas symbol right in the middle.
But do you like when I'm at Movati? Do you go sauna with it on, or do you pretend like? Anyways, I'll figure that out.
Listen, I was in the sauna the other day at Movati, and these two guys come in here. They've got the soccer game on their handheld device. They're blabbing away watching soccer. I'm like, boys, this is sauna time now. We're supposed to chill out in here. I don't need all this stuff going on with soccer. Let's go.
But you just had to tell me one time, Yorkie. You just needed to tell me, and I would have turned it off.
Yeah, exactly. You know how big Wally is in the Peru versus Canada. Okay, Matthew Tkachuk. A few circumstance of, and I'll say this, is that Keith Tkachuk, when he played in Winnipeg, talked to Randy Carl, loved it. Well, first of all, he married, of course, Craig Oster's sister, Mrs. Tkachuk. He embraced it. He's out hunting. He's doing the whole thing. Matthew Tkachuk, I don't know the series of events, guys, but obviously when you sign a bridge deal, that is that both sides don't love each other. I also go back to the circumstance. I don't know what game it was where he played his ass off and hard out for Calgary, and somebody shot a puck at him in one of the games of one year, and nobody did anything. There are little circumstances here that he basically said, whatever, I'm out of here. Brady Tkachuk signed up for the long haul. Now, my vibes, guys, and maybe I'm listening to too much of it, I'm kind of wondering, but from what you're saying, that is a Tkachuk right there. Be part of the solution. I signed up long term. I love Ottawa. I want to win a cup here. But I also kind of want to see that and feel that. And again, I think he's been a little bit quiet because of his brother not wanting to take the spotlight. So I totally understand it. But that's exactly what you should feel if you're him. And I put it out, and I know it took a long time in Florida, but there's no way that Brady Tkachuk looks at old ownership, old management. If that was the circumstance right now, I'd be like, okay, I kind of get it. Well, you've got a good group. You've got a good owner. They've done a new management, new coaching staff. They're trying to get better. What I don't want at the same time, Yorkie, is every move or everything you do is to appease Brady Tkachuk. That's a terrible way to try to operate a team. You got to know that Brady understands we're not going to win the cup this year. We're even touch and go to make the playoffs. It can't be sky is falling all the time. What do you think Aaron Ekblad's gone through in his career to get to a Stanley Cup? Stay, be part of it. This is our process. Trust the process. We'll get there together. That's what you hope if you're an Ottawa Senators fan. And to me, that's what Brady Tkachuk and the Tkachuks are all about. And I don't look at Matthew's circumstances anything to do with Brady. So, like I said, I if you're a Sens fan, that's what you're hoping for, and it should be. Like I said, there's no reason for him to want to leave Ottawa right now. And certainly if I'm Ottawa, not that I'd say I won't trade you, But you'd hope that that is the way he's feeling right now.
You got to think too, like this trade that just got pulled off last couple of days, first time in a long time where people are like, you know what? We did really good on that trade. Like it's a different feeling, right? There's a different vibe going on right now after that trade. And as these trades take place, everybody thinks they go to appease Brady Tkachuk. No, it goes to what's better for the team, to appease everybody. Everybody thinks just Brady Tkachuk wants to win. No, every single guy on that team wants to win, because when you win in the NHL, everybody benefits. Everybody gets new contracts. Everybody is looked upon that much higher than NHL. There's nothing worse as a player, even though you're getting paid, because when you're on a losing team over time, it's like the Canadian dollar. You just keep getting devalued, the currency. It's like you're not worth, sooner or later, you're not worth anything. So you gotta be a playoff. You gotta be a playoff team as a player, because that's at the end of the day how you get paid in this league, by winning in the playoffs.
And I'll also say, guys, in the past, I applauded some of the Dorion moves. I kind of got caught in. I remember when Matt Murray was traded for, and we even go back to the summer of DeBrincat. But what I also respect and understand, and somebody brought it up today, and I worked in the KHL, which is crazy, the circumstance under the old ownership and what Pierre Dorion went through in both trying to make an owner happy, go back to the Duchesne trade apparently was a big part of ownership. And at the same time, you're trying to save your job all the time. This is a fine line, unfortunately, for Steve Staios. The market doesn't have a ton of patience, which I think they should have more if they're being realistic, guys. But you're riding a fine line right here now, which is tough. You want to be methodical. You want to be smart in the process. And the one thing that you talked about, Yorkie, and even without a contract extension, the Ullmark trade feels like they were patient in it. It feels methodical. It fits properly. Now on to the next phase, which I think does end up, well, for sure, there's some extra confidence in Steve Staios as a general manager after making that move.
Absolutely.
Can we discuss patience for a sec? I get they need to, we as fans need to be more patient, but after watching and sitting through 7 years, it just becomes tough to say, okay, just give us some more patience, right?
Well,
I know, but it's two different groups.
Yeah.
But the problem is they sat through all the nonsense of, no, the rebuild is over. No, we're taking the next step. No, this is good. We got everything's under control. And really, it was a duck. The feet under the water are just scrambling because it's an absolute tire fire.
Yeah.
Now I understand we need patience. It feels like an expansion franchise for a little bit, where you got to try and rebuild a group that needs to be insulated with its core pieces. So listen, I get the patience, but just if we can't keep telling fans, just got to be patient for 3 more years. That's tough to hear. You want to see results.
It's tough to hear, but unfortunately, it's the truth. Any good corporation, business, sports team, if you don't have that leadership at the top that trickles down, and unfortunately, Ottawa just didn't have that for a long. When the team first changed hands, I'll say this. It was a different vibe in the city. It was totally different. There was a buzz. Then over time, it just turned to crap. And I agree. Like for Dorion, he was in a tough spot, trying to save the job, trying to appease the owner. But how do you work in those conditions? It was impossible. Actually, it actually is quite laughable because how impossible it was for this team to succeed. So unfortunately, people have to give it some time. It is a new regime, but everything starts from the top. Now you've got stable ownership. We've talked about this so many times, and it will change. It just takes a little bit of time. But the good thing is the top piece is now stable. There's good people involved. At the end of the day, when you have good people involved and everyone's working, trying to win, eventually good things will happen. And I'll say this, it's been a good first week here. So I think all in all, people should be pretty positive on the start of things to start off a really important summer, which we all know it's going to be.
Yeah, and to that, Wally, I understand what you're saying, but to what Yorkie said, it is the truth. And go back to any circumstance, and I'll go back to when Pagula bought Buffalo. Well, he meant well. He wanted to fast track it, sign free agents. Well, what did they sign? They end up with Ville, Leno, and Ehrhoff. You know what I mean? Like, okay, there's the balance there. How long did it take for Edmonton to get to the promised land? Many teams. Chicago went through 3 rebuilds. Pittsburgh went through 3 rebuilds. Ottawa is what they are right now. They're not a playoff team, but if they make some moves this summer, it's forward progress. That's all I'm saying. And I think Edmonton was guilty of this for years of they're a Stanley Cup contender. Well, now this year they actually were. Other years wasn't the case. So at least as a fan and as ownership, I deserve the benefit of the doubt, Wally, that we are going to reset. This is what we inherited. Now, if we go and make some stupid short-term moves or bad trades, but you also don't win many trades, guys, in the National Hockey League. I was the first one to say, I can't believe Arizona only got the 12th pick for Jake Chychrun. Well, all of a sudden, when you look at all these picks and what they're going to recover for him, just very cautious, very careful. Go slow. They've got a good core. That's the nice part. Focus on the fact that there are really nice pieces in place here, and it is going to be a bit of a process. And all I'm saying, you want forward progress, Wally. I don't expect them, if they can be legitimately in the playoff race this year as it sits right now, I would be satisfied if I was an Ottawa Senators fan.
I agree. I'm tired of us beating down on fans, and it's not what you're trying to do. There's only so much patience, and I can understand fans who go, I'm out of patience, and I get that.
Well, what's the alternative? Like there is no alternative, Yorkie. Like you can't all of a sudden go out like Neil Smith, I'm going to solve all my stuff via free agency. Well, we know that doesn't work. And is it realistic? No. Are you going to go and make some crazy trade? I don't think that's even there to be had. It is just simple reality. And I'll say this, and the New York Rangers are smart of it in a very tough market, Yorkie. There's nothing wrong with being realistic. When Pierre Dorion started the whole rebuild is over and the playoff stuff, as an organization, at times, there's nothing wrong with speaking the truth as to where you're realistically at. Hockey fans are very, very educated nowadays.
Yeah, especially in this market. Especially in this market. The good thing is, imagine being in a market where it was just radio silence and nobody cared. Like, and I played in markets like that where it's just nobody cares. Senators are on the back page of the sports. There's nothing going on online. People are passionate here. So to me, that's a good thing. That's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
I completely agree. Before we go, I just wanted to ask Simmer, Brett, do you have my email I just sent to you, perhaps?
What's this?
Okay, hang on. I just want to... Okay, 1 sec. We'll get to it in a sec.
Okay.
I do have trivia before we go for you two.
Oh, well, what happened to insulting Wally, though? Wally, is it only a weekly segment, Yorkie?
Oh, we're working on it. We're trying to we're trying to change the questions because Wally is like 0 for 5. So I gotta. We're gonna come back. We're gonna come back with maybe some. He wants some more Taylor Swift questions. He told me. He said that's his wheelhouse. Taylor Swift.
Okay.
Just every time we turn around, it's like it's from the Eisenhower administration or something. Like the questions have to be more relevant to our viewers.
Well, I don't know.
Eisenhower, come on, we're talking Jimmy Carter here. You don't even know your president.
I went like what got me the most was when you had no idea about Judge Smails and Caddyshack. That's the one that got me. No idea. You have no idea who Judge Smails is.
If you would have asked me who TJ from Wicked Tuna was, I would have been able to tell you right away.
An old TJ who's working his butt off, and shout out to him. He got to get on that. We got to hook in the real TJ for a little live opportunity. Like seriously, that's a doppelganger if I've ever seen one.
I'm just glad you knew when I said Simmer looked like George Michael from the Faith video. You chuckled and you said, "Oh yes, I've seen that." So I might have to go into music. Music might be your.
Yorkie, when he went to UNB, he had a poster of Wham on his wall. Like seriously,
of course he did. Wake Wally up before you go. Love
that song.
Wake Wally up before you go.
He even had the dance going very close to the Carlton dance, but not quite.
So maybe some MC Hammer questions for you. I see Wally in the parachute pants doing.
I'd love that. Making that move across the stage would be outstanding.
Stop.
Well, the first concert I went to was DJ Easy Rock. Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rock. That was the first concert I saw.
Wow.
Brett, do you have the picture? Does he have the picture of the thing I put up on Twitter? It's Wally back in the 80s when he used to be a rapper. He's got the he's got the gold chain around him. He's got the backwards hat, the shades on.
Listen, so Simmer, hold on to trivia for a sec. I just want to know, will you sign my poster that I have of you that's been on my bedroom wall now for a little bit? Brett?
Platinum blonde. Is that platinum blonde?
No, that's got to be. Is that Duran Duran?
No, it's platinum blonde.
It is platinum blonde. Wow.
Yes.
Oh man, yeah. Where are they now? That was my first concert in the Sioux, Yorkie, when we went there. We thought it was so cool. We got in for free. Yeah, that's solid right there. Hey,
Somebody.
Brett, does Brett have the pick there of the three of us?
No.
Oh God, come on! I sent it to you, Brett.
with the time of year, I was looking a little bit more for a honeymoon sweet wave babies.
Wave babies.
Yeah.
With my hair system on the beach, picking up.
How about a little Criminal Mind Gowan?
Oh, absolutely. Hey,
Wally's nodding. He knows what we're talking about. We're on to something here. We might have.
My brother owned that cassette for his Alpine stereo in his car.
Ah.
It was a Dodge Ram Charger. I've actually.
Yeah, my go-to was I think it would have been a Blue Rodeo, a little bit of Sting action, and Top Gun. Maybe even a little. Top Gun was a go-to right there. The soundtrack.
I could probably give you the whole lines.
Oh, here we go. We got the picture of Wally right now. Brett's got it. This is Wally back in the day when he used to be a rap fan. Simmer, see right there in the middle.
Oh, nice. Hey,
get the shades. Get the big heavy necklace on there.
I'm feeling almost a Vanilla Ice spinoff there. I bet you Wally was a huge Ice Baby guy as well.
Yeah, I think he went by the handle DJ Wall E.
He was hanging out of the Cosmo in Freddie Beach.
Cosmo. Yeah, that place was rock. You know who was a doorman there? Jerry Fleming was a bouncer there. If anybody remembers,
Fleming. I would say, pound for pound, the best minor league road trip stretch back in the day when they had they had Fredericton, when they had Newfoundland in there, when Toronto had their farm team in St. John's.
Yeah.
What a town to go to. Moncton, good sleeper town as well. Moncton was a lot of fun. People dish on Moncton, but back in the day, Moncton was pretty good.
Oh, very solid bar right across from the rink. And our trip at the time was you started in Halifax, Little Freddie Beach over to Moncton. You finish in Sydney at Smooth Herman's. You're pretty much you're pretty much out of gas by the time you left Halifax. You're just operating on fumes the rest of the trip.
I remember when I was playing in the Calder Cup finals. I had been healthy scratched for like a month, and the coach comes in, and you want to look at the look of sheer terror. When the coach tells you you're going into the lineup and you've been drinking for 3 weeks straight. Oh my God! I got to play now.
But Yorkie, were you playing against the great Cape Breton team there, the one that won the cup, or is that the year you guys won?
We won in '92, so I believe that was the year after.
Okay.
I remember that Cape Breton team. Did that team feature Bill McDougall?
Absolutely. I think Billy had 100 points in the playoff. Vanner was on that team too. And they had they had Frankie LaRue, and they had Cordic for a while. The part I loved about going there, Wally, is that the beer store was next to the rink, and the morning skate got more people until the beer store opened up. It was actually kind of got you into the game vibe.
Okay. I'm trying to do something. I don't know. I'm going to run out of time, so we'll get to it.
What do you got?
Okay, let's go to trivia.
Okay.
Right. So, Linus Ullmark, as we know, is from Sweden. How many goaltenders have been born in Sweden, have played for the Ottawa Senators? And the bonus question would be, how many Swedish goalies have played in the National Hockey League in history?
Oh my God! So we got the Leonard, we got Forsberg, we've got and there's some tricky ones because Yanni Herme is a Finn. Sometimes you thought he was Swedish. The
guy that got the concussions, was that Nielsen?
Yep, Anders Nielsen. Another
Nielsen.
One right there.
Was there not one other? We're missing one other. What? Hogberg.
Hogberg. Is it Hogberg or is it Hogberg? What do we?
I don't know. His style was to actually play outside the crease and give the players the entire net.
I believe. Does Gustafsson count as well? He's a Swede, isn't he?
Absolutely.
There's a lot. My God.
There's been a lot even recently. Hey.
I don't know. I'm just going to take a guess. I'm going to go with lucky number 7.
Yeah, I'm going to go Sens history. I'm going to go 6, and then I'm going to go all the way back to, and I don't think he was the first, the late great Pelle Lindbergh. I'm going to say historically, Wally, I'm going to go played in the NHL. I'm going to go 25 in the NHL all time, and 6 for the Sens.
I'm going 7. I'm going 7 and 33. My old jersey number.
Okay.
Just a pure guess. Pure guess.
Brett, you should have a board for Ottawa. There we go. 6
Oh, Simmer.
Wow.
Yeah.
But what's interesting, Yorkie, they've all been recent, right? And this is also, there was a trend under Dorian where they drafted a bunch of Swedes, but wow, yeah, nothing. I was kind of looking back thinking, did the fella the Moose that played in Manitoba, I was wondering, did one of those guys spend a little time? Okay, so
Hedberg.
6, there we go. Yeah.
So then people are, so I'm trying not to read because people are Googling this, I'm sure. In the NHL, in its history, so right now, Ullmark will be 7 for the Ottawa Senators. In the history of the game.
I think there's a lot. I think there's a lot more than we think.
It's actually, no, 39.
Oh,
Okay.
So
okay.
it's something like, I forget, 14 or 17% of all Swedish-born goalies when Ullmark plays will have played for the Ottawa Senators.
what's the?
Well,
old
that's interesting.
Swede?
And Yorkie ends up winning. Pelly Lindbergh, unfortunate. After Lundqvist, Yorkie, who are you going with the greatest Swede? Or I'll ask Wally as well. Greatest NHL Swedish goaltender ever outside of Henrik Lundqvist.
Oh,
Pelly Lindbergh, maybe. He had such a short career, though.
Yeah.
I always get the Swedes and the Finns mixed up. Greatest Swede. Yeah, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. Well,
Like when you go
Pelly
back to the
Lindbergh
really
was
good
like-
teams, Lundqvist won. Previous to that, like the greatest Swedish hockey teams of all time had Tommy Salo, right? That led in the crazy goal in 2002.
yeah.
He was not a great goaltender.
Well, how many Swedish goaltenders have won the Vezina? Linus
Ooh.
Ullmark.
Yeah, no, that's
There's
yeah,
one
yeah.
right there. There's one right there.
And has one ever won the Conn Smythe? I don't believe so. And you think about Lundqvist, one of the greatest players of all time to never win a cup. What Swedish goaltender has actually led a NHL team to win a cup? I can't. Can you think of any, Wally? I can't, Yorkie.
I have the list in front of me. I don't see a name. My Tommy Salo, by the way, is 3rd overall in wins in Swedish history.
Yeah.
Okay.
Has a sub 500 winning record.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jacob Markstrom is 2nd in wins.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Robin Lehner's 5th all time. Linus
Lehner.
Ullmark is 6th all time in wins.
How many? So I think Ullmark's the only one with the Vezina trophy, right?
No,
Yeah.
Henrik Lundqvist.
Sorry.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. The other thing from the 4 nations, I guess we can add. Well, for sure, Ullmark will be on the team. I guess it'll be touch and go between he and Markstrom as to who the starter will be. But if you're kind of rounding out who Ottawa might feature, I can't think of any Finns. Of course, Brady Tkachuk. From a Canadian perspective, doubtful. But Mr. Ullmark, good chance he'll be on Sweden.
Yeah.
Oh, I would think so. Yeah. I mean, how do you leave off that?
Yeah,
Arguably.
he's on the team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, gentlemen, tomorrow we may have a big time guest. I'm still working on it, so I see
heard.
if we can wrangle him in.
I'm excited for this guy if you can pull this off.
If not, we will still have a full show, and that'll lead us into the draft. We'll ask, because someone did it in the chat, and I was going to have you do it anyway, who you want at number 7 overall. So save that for your answer for tomorrow.
Discuss tomorrow.
We'll get to that. Yeah. So until then,
see you
enjoy
guys.
a lovely day. See you
All right.
later.
Cheers, boys.
Thanks for tuning in to Coming In Hot. If you enjoyed the show, hit that like button and be sure to subscribe to never miss an episode.